Hey, beautiful human. Let's get straight to it. Sex is supposed to be about pleasure, connection, presence. But what if your nervous system didn't get that memo? Maybe you know the feeling. Your body is technically there going through all the right motions, but your mind is somewhere between stage, managing the experience and wondering if your left boob looks weird from that angle. You're not making love, you're giving a TED talk in your own head. If you've ever felt like sex was something you perform instead of something you feel like you're acting in a play with a script you didn't even write, then you, my friend, are in exactly the right place. Today, we're breaking down exactly why this happens, how hyperarousal hijacks our sex lives, and most importantly, how to stop managing sex and actually start living it. And yes, I'm going to walk you through a practice you can use right now, tonight, or the next time your body goes, nope, not today, and your mind starts organizing a performance review of your own orgasm. Let's set the scene. Maybe you're finally in bed with someone you genuinely want. The playlist is on point, the lighting is doing you favors, and you're even a little excited. But then, as soon as things start getting intimate, it's like a switch flips. Suddenly, your brain is everywhere except where you actually are. You start thinking, am I making a weird face right now? Did I remember to lock the front door? How long is too long before I do something new with my hands? Should I be making more noise? Less noise? You try to focus, but your body feels distant. Like you're going through the motions, but there's a glass wall between you and the experience. That's hyperarousal, your sympathetic nervous system revving up and pulling you out of the moment. But why does it happen, especially right when you want to be most present? Here's the science and the secret shame nobody wants to admit. Your nervous system is designed to keep you safe, not to give you mind-blowing orgasms. It doesn't care how much you want pleasure, how long it's been since you felt really desired, or how safe your partner actually is. If your body senses even a hint of danger, vulnerability, rejection, criticism, the risk of being seen and not approved of it flips into protect mode. That's fight, flight, or freeze. But during sex, it's rarely running out of the room screaming. It's usually this subtler, more insidious version: heart pounding, muscles tensing, breath shallowing, thoughts racing. And here's what makes this uniquely cruel. For so many of you, especially if you're neurodivergent, queer, fat, disabled, or have a history of trauma danger, isn't always about literal safety. It's about shame. It's about inherited scripts from families, faith, or media that told you your body, your desires, your pleasure were risky or wrong. Maybe you were told, directly or not, that your worth was tied to your performance or your ability to please others. Maybe you learned that being too much, too loud, too needy, or even too happy was dangerous territory. So your body got really good at surviving by monitoring, scanning, and managing every move, every sound, every facial expression. Hyperarousal isn't just anxiety. It's your nervous system running a decades-old code written by every moment you didn't feel safe in your skin or your sexuality. Shame wasn't invited. The pleasure shut down. And the most insidious part? Your mind might want sex, even crave intimacy, but your body is busy checking for exit routes, reading your partner's microexpressions, and mentally tracking every possible mistake. Your sympathetic nervous system can't tell the difference between I might get eaten by a lion and I might get rejected if I say what I really want. To your body, it's all the same category: danger. That's why even with a kind partner, a safe room, and a green light from your brain, your body can still slam on the brakes or run full speed ahead with a performance routine. It's not sabotage, it's adaptation. Your system learned to equate intimacy with risk, so it goes into overdrive, protecting you from the things it can't tell are in the past. If you're neurodivergent, add another layer. Sensory overwhelm, the feeling of too many textures, sounds, smells, lights, can dial up nervous system activation, masking performing normal, even in bed burns, out your regulatory resources faster. Difficulty with transitions from work mode to pleasure mode can make arousal itself feel stressful, not exciting. So you end up stuck in your head, never quite arriving in your own body. This isn't a personal flaw. It's not proof that you're too much or not enough. It's the predictable result of a world that teaches bodies like yours to survive by scanning, pleasing, and preparing for rejection right when you're supposed to be letting go. So if you find yourself overthinking during sex, trying to manage every moment, or feeling like you're just acting out a role, you are not alone. Your nervous system is just doing what it was trained to do. But here's the invitation. What if, for once, you could let your body off the hook for performing? What if hyperarousal is a sign you're ready for more safety, not just more skill? Let's dig into what that looks like. Let's talk about the silent scripts we've all inherited, the ones that turn sex into a test and pleasure into a performance review. It starts early, doesn't it? Before you ever had a conscious thought about sex, your world was already full of rules and expectations about bodies, desire, and what good intimacy is supposed to look like. Maybe it was the way your parents talked about your body, what was appropriate, what was pretty, what was ladylike or manly enough. Maybe it was purity pledges, locker room jokes, magazine covers, or even that offhand comment from a teacher or youth pastor about saving yourself or not being easy. And let's not forget, the overwhelming majority of mainstream sex education, if you got any at all, wasn't about pleasure, consent, or embodiment. It was about risk management, danger avoidance, and, above all else, controlling your desire. The end result? We learned to monitor ourselves. We became self-editors and internal censors. Before pleasure could even enter the room, performance anxiety was already waiting on the couch, flipping through a clipboard of invisible expectations. If you're femme, the script reads, be desirable, but not too forward. Be sexy, but not too loud about it. Don't take up too much space, and God forbid you actually want something. If you're a man, the script is, perform, make her come, but not too quickly. Don't get soft, don't show vulnerability, and whatever you do, don't appear to need reassurance. If you're queer, neurodivergent, fat, disabled, or have ever lived in a body that doesn't match the default setting sold by pop culture, the script is even more insidious. You're either invisible or fetishized. You're told, directly or indirectly, that desire is a privilege reserved for those who fit the mold, not a right for bodies like yours. These scripts are enforced by more than just words. They're reinforced by looks, by silence, by whose stories get told in movies and whose bodies appear in sex scenes, by the microaggressions in dating apps, by who is allowed to be messy and who is told to be grateful for crumbs of attention. People-pleasing in the bedroom doesn't always look like enthusiastic consent. Sometimes it's faking pleasure to get it over with or protect your partner's ego. Saying yes because saying no feels risky, even if it's just emotional risk. Keeping quiet about discomfort, boredom, pain, or disconnection. Organizing your entire sexual persona around what you think your partner wants 7 if it means shutting off your own needs. This is especially true for anyone socialized to prioritize others' women, queer folks, survivors, neurodivergent humans who learn that masking is the safest way to navigate relationships. You might even find yourself disappearing during sex, floating above your own experience, narrating it like a sports commentator instead of living it. That's not a lack of interest, that's self-protection masquerading as compliance. And it's exhausting. You're not just managing your own feelings, you're carrying your partner's, too. You're acting, editing, adjusting, and if we're being real, you're probably not having much fun. Here's where the science lands. The more you focus on doing sex right, the less present you become in your own body. Perfectionism is a form of hypervigilance. You're not feeling, you're scanning, anticipating, adjusting, correcting. Your nervous system can't be in fight, flight, and pleasure at the same time. It's like trying to enjoy a concert while simultaneously critiquing the acoustics, the lighting, your own outfit, and worrying about whether the person next to you is having a good time. The music becomes background noise. And when your self-worth is on the line, sex stops being play and becomes performance. You're not chasing pleasure, you're chasing safety. You're trying to earn approval, avoid criticism, and prove you're enough, all while trying to stay in your body. And let's not sugarcoat it. This isn't just about sex. This is about years, decades of socialization and survival. It's about the learned belief that you are only as worthy as your ability to meet other people's expectations. Let's put it plainly. If you are more focused on being a good lover than a present lover, you will always be a few steps removed from real pleasure. If your inner dialogue sounds like, "Am I doing this right?" instead of, "How does this feel?" that's performance talking, not embodiment. And it's not your fault. You were trained for this. You inherited a system that rewards people for pleasing others, that punishes boundary setting, that measures bodies against impossible standards and then blames us for failing to meet them. But here's the rebellion. You can unlearn this. You can opt out of the performance. You can start asking, what feels good for me, and what would happen if I stopped performing and started participating? It will feel awkward. You might get messy, stumble, or not know what you want right away. But that is the heart of true presence. Real pleasure is not a performance. It's an experiment, a discovery, a moment-by-moment unfolding that does not require an audience, a gold star, or even a coherent plot. Here's your reminder, in case nobody ever said it to you. You do not have to earn the right to pleasure. You do not have to perform worthiness. You do not have to be good at sex to deserve connection. Every moment you choose presence over perfection, every time you let your needs, boundaries, and sensations matter as much as anyone else's, you are writing a new script, not just for yourself, but for everyone who comes after you. Let's stop rehearsing for someone else's applause. Let's start feeling messy, loud, complicated, honest. Let's burn the old scripts and see what happens when we show up, unedited, for our own pleasure. Okay, time for some neuro-nerdery. I promise this is the last time I say polyvagal today. Your nervous system has 3 main settings: safe, social, ventral vagal, activated, anxious, sympathetic, and shut down, dorsal vagal. When you feel safe and connected, you're open, playful, curious. This is where the magic happens. When you sense danger, even if it's just the risk of being awkward or rejected, your sympathetic system takes over. Heart pounding, muscles tense, mind racing, hyper-aware of every mistake. If it gets too overwhelming, you might go into shutdown, numb, disconnected, watching yourself from outside your body. Performance anxiety isn't about being bad at sex. It's about your body believing that sex is dangerous because somewhere along the way, it was dangerous. Or at least, it felt that way. If you've ever suddenly lost your arousal, gone numb, or started planning your grocery list mid-sex, congratulations. You're having a totally normal nervous system response to past programming. This is especially true if you grew up with shame-based messaging, religious trauma, or in a world that policed your body and desires. And if you're neurodivergent, multiply that by 10. Sensory overwhelm, masking, the need to do it right. These all add extra pressure that can send you straight into performance mode. So, how do you know when you're performing instead of being present? Let's paint the picture. You're more focused on your partner's pleasure than your own, scanning for feedback instead of feeling. You check out or go numb, maybe you dissociate or just feel empty, even if things look fine. You agree to things you don't want because saying no feels risky, or you don't want to ruin the mood. You can't recall much about the experience afterward, except that you were worried about doing it right. Orgasms feel mechanical, forced, or totally out of reach, like your body and mind are running 2 separate apps. Sound familiar? This is not failure. This is not proof you're broken. It's evidence of a brilliant, adaptive nervous system doing its job. But just because it's normal doesn't mean you have to settle for it. All right, I'm not just here to rant. Let's get practical. Here's a nervous system reset to help you shift from performance to presence. You can do this solo, with a partner, before, during, or even after sex, or anytime you catch yourself going through the motions instead of actually being in your body. Let's start with sensory grounding. Start with 5 things you see. 4 you can touch, 3 you can hear, 2 you can smell, and 1 you can taste. Go slow. Let yourself actually notice the texture of sheets, the flicker of candlelight, the feeling of breath on your skin. This anchors you in the present moment. Next is the breath drop-in. Put 1 hand on your belly, 1 on your chest. Take slow inhales, even slower exhales. Imagine your breath traveling down to your pelvis or wherever you feel tension. With each exhale, tell yourself, I'm allowed to be here. If you notice tension, let your exhale soften either, just let it be there. Notice. Or try the micro-consent check-in. Ask, do I want this right now? Listen honestly. Scan your body for tension jaw, shoulders, hips, thighs. Notice any no or not sure sensations and respect them without judgment. Even a tiny act of self-consent is revolutionary. Give yourself a pleasure permission slip. Rest your hands somewhere, comforting over your heart, your belly, your thigh. Whisper or think, I give myself permission to feel good, even if it's awkward or unfamiliar. If your mind wanders to performance, gently redirect to the sensations in your body. Warmth, pressure, texture. Let yourself receive. And the last one, try a presence anchor. Choose an anchor, maybe a particular sound, the feeling of your breath, or the rhythm of gentle touch. Whenever you notice yourself slipping back into manager mode, return to this anchor. Remind yourself, your only job is to feel, not to perform. Sex isn't a test. It's not something to get right or something you can fail at. Your body isn't here to be graded, and your pleasure doesn't need an audience. Every time you choose presence over performance, you're doing radical, nervous system level rebellion against all the scripts you were handed about worthiness, desirability, and good sex. And every moment you can stay present even for 1 extra breathus of victory. So, next time you find yourself slipping into hyperarousal, perfectionism, or people-pleasing in the bedroom, pause, breathe, notice what's true in your body right now. Even if that truth is, I'm scared, or I feel awkward, or I'm not sure what I want, that's the revolution. That's how we come back to our bodies. That's how we write new stories 1 moment of presence at a time. If this episode resonated, please share it with someone who needs to hear that they're not broken, they're just brilliantly adapted. You can find more resources, deep dive worksheets, and pleasure practices in the Ember Vault at untamedember.com or by subscribing to the podcast wherever you get your shows. And if you're craving support as you untangle shame, perfectionism, or the endless performance trap, you are so welcome here. Your presence is the only performance that matters. This is Dr. Misty, signing off, reminding you that your body is not the problem and your pleasure is the revolution. See you next time.